World leaders are ghosting Donald Trump and United States leadership. World leaders are canceling meetings to the United States. They're not taking phone calls from Donald Trump and people in his administration. They're saying, if you're going to screw us and mock us publicly and lie about our discussions, it's better if we just don't talk. It's better if we just do not meet. The most recent example that you probably haven't heard about anywhere in corporate media because they don't report on this stuff, Japan's trade negotiators have canceled their visit to the United States that was supposed to take place to discuss that deal that Donald Trump claimed was with Japan, where they were going to give $550 billion directly to Donald Trump, and the United States was going to get 90% of the profits, and Japan was only going to get 10% of the profits, and it was just going to screw Japan. Japan's like, we never agreed to that. We agreed to maybe high interest discretionary loans if we want to. So the Japanese trade minister, the lead negotiator, Akazawa, was like, I ain't showing up. We are canceling it. Also, Japan was pissed about some of the comments that Donald Trump made in the Oval Office with the president of South Korea because Trump doesn't understand diplomacy and how to deal with things. So in Japan, they're like, we're canceling our meeting. I'll get into more of that in a moment. You also know, based on a report I did 2 days ago, Prime Minister Modi of India not taking Donald Trump's phone calls. Trump's tried to call Modi like 4 times. Can we work out a deal? Can we work out a deal? And Modi's like, I'm not talking to you because you've tried to humiliate India in so many ways, Donald. You keep on trying to claim credit for bringing a ceasefire or ending the war between India and Pakistan when you had absolutely nothing to do with it. You've taken money from Pakistan for your personal family's Bitcoin company, World Liberty Finance, and then let the chief of staff, Munir, of the Pakistani army into the White House to kind of put his thumb in the face of India. And India's like, we're a democracy. Yeah, we have our flaws, of course, and of course Modi has his issues, but we were developing a relationship with the United States for decades. Businesses were investing in India, one of the world's fastest growing economies. They're like, you're choosing Pakistan over India right now, and you're making that point clear because they're investing in your family's Bitcoin company? Like, what the hell are you doing? Modi's like, I ain't picking up the phone. And by the way, you're disrespecting students of India, and you are just constantly raising the tariffs on India in bad faith. So no, 50% tariffs on India. I'm not taking your call, Donald. And then Prime Minister Modi is just letting the people know in various speeches, like what went down, like during the war between India and Pakistan when J.D. Vance tried to call Modi. Modi's like, I don't want to take your call, J.D. And J.D. Vance like, but Pakistan may hit you with more missiles. And India's like, well, if they hit me with more missiles, we're going to hit them with more missiles. What the hell are you doing, J.D.? What's the point of your phone call? We're in a war right now. What are you doing? And stop trying to take credit for things that you have nothing to do with. And then even right now, Modi's not taking Donald Trump's calls. So we have the Japan example, we have the India example, and then an example that we talked about that's been written about recently. Hat tip to the Guardian for breaking this story right here, and the Kyiv Independent wrote on it. The former chief of staff of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhnyi, who was the former chief of staff of the Ukrainian army, a war hero, was one of the people who stopped the initial invasion by Russia, where they said they were going to conquer Kyiv in 3 days. Zaluzhnyi and Zelensky got into some back and forth arguments. He was removed from being the chief of staff of the army, but still given an important position as the lead envoy, basically the top ambassador to the United Kingdom, which is a big position in Ukraine that he got. And one of the things we're learning as well is, remember that meeting at the Oval Office where Donald Trump, of course you remember, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance back in February were like excoriating and yelling and bullying Zelensky. Well, part of their plan was, and it was not a well thought out plan, was basically use that to get rid of Zelensky and then call up Valery Zaluzhnyi, the former chief of staff of the army, now this envoy from Ukraine to the United Kingdom, and basically see if Zaluzhnyi would want to do a coup of Zelensky, like as a military leader, do a coup of Zelensky. So J.D. Vance was orchestrating a coup. The Guardian didn't use this specific language, but if you look at what they were saying, this is what was going down. J.D. Vance wanted to orchestrate a coup, get Zaluzhnyi to get into power, force Zelensky out, and then the Americans, Trump and his regime, thought that would potentially appease Putin. But Zaluzhnyi is like, I'm not a Putin puppet. What the hell? And Zaluzhnyi did not take J.D. Vance's phone calls. Zaluzhnyi told the European allies what was happening, and Zaluzhnyi said basically the Americans, Trump and his regime, are misreading who I am. If they think that I'm going to go in there, get rid of Zelensky, and then bow down to Putin, I'm the guy who stopped the Putin invasion. And so, no, during this war, I support Zelensky, even if Zelensky and I don't see head-to-head on a number of issues, or we don't see eye-to-eye on a number of issues. And that was when one of the main American plans to get rid of Zelensky failed, when Zaluzhnyi did not take phone calls from J.D. Vance, just flat out refused the phone calls, spoke to the European allies, European fortified around Zelensky. I think quite a courageous act by Zaluzhnyi to do that. And by the way, within that time frame, and this has way more meaning now that we know the story that The Guardian broke, Zaluzhnyi spoke in the United Kingdom at this speech and said, look, the United States is trying to destroy the world order. The U.S. is trying to destroy the world order. Here, play this clip.
Maybe this is an attempt to revise the existing world order. Well, obviously, for Ukraine, it is very difficult on its own, albeit with the support of our partners, to fight against the axis of evil. But we have been fighting. And as the war in Ukraine, we're acquiring the characteristic of a global war. Its results could have been predicted, and these results are obvious even now. As a result, the United States of America, China, Russia, and Europe have proved to be unprepared for such a global war of such a level of intensity. And for such a protracted war, the human and technological losses, it's obvious that the White House has questioned the unity of the whole Western world. And now Washington is trying to delegate the security issues to Europe without participation of the US. So we can say that in the near future, NATO likewise can stop existing, and a number of talks between the US and Russia, Russia being headed by a war criminal, we see that the White House makes steps towards the Kremlin, trying to meet them halfway. So the next target of Russia could be Europe. The decision of the Cyber Command of the US decided to stop any cyber operation against Russia. And the failure to qualify actions of Russia as an aggression is a huge challenge for the entire world and Europe in particular, because we see that it's not just the axis of evil and Russia trying to revise the world order, but the US is finally destroying this order.
They are trying to destroy the world order. I mean, look at what I had a report on yesterday, that the United States has been sending spies into Greenland to come up with a plan to try to conquer Greenland, to come up with, war plans, to find ways to seize Greenland either by force or by, other soft war means. And then Denmark found out about it, and Denmark's like, what the hell are you doing? Denmark summons the top United States envoy to go to Denmark because Greenland's still part of the Kingdom of Denmark. They're like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You're sending spies to commit espionage. We're a NATO ally. You're trying to actually conquer us? And to which I say to Denmark, yeah, of course they're trying to conquer you. They said they were going to conquer you. Trump has dictatorial ambitions. He really wants to make Canada the 51st state. He really wants to make Greenland into a territory of the United States. Of course, that's what he's trying to do right there. So you think about who is ghosting Donald Trump now. And by the way, Japan smartly ghosted Donald Trump back in June, on June 21st, right around that time period, leading up to these meetings that were going to take place in July. They ghosted Trump. They said they canceled their meetings. Akazawa canceled. The defense ministers canceled meetings to the White House. Then they ended up meeting later, though, and then Trump misrepresented the whole deal with Japan. Oh, Japan's making me rich. They're giving me all this money personally, $550 billion. We get 90%. It's the greatest deal ever. And so Japan learned its lesson. Japan's like, we're not meeting with you. Also, it should be noted that there was an election recently in the upper chamber of Japan where the current governing party lost a lot of seats. And so there is going to be a change of leadership there. But who's Trump bringing into the, like who's Trump meeting with? Like, of course, the Putin meeting in Alaska. Donald Trump is in the Oval Office holding up the photos of himself and Putin, like how embarrassing. Look at what Vladimir sent me, a photo of us in Alaska. Maybe Vladimir will show up. How embarrassing is that? And then Donald Trump has the Pakistan chief of staff, the head of their army, Asim Munir, after the Pakistani crypto fund gave the Trump family a huge amount of huge amount of money. Munir comes in and meets with the Trump regime. Now the World Liberty financial crew, they're like, oh, we had this in the works before and there's no connection here. That's what they'll say, but I'll let you judge for yourself right here. So I played you that clip in March of Valery Zaluzhnyi, rather. Now, I showed you this clip yesterday, but watch it. It's important. Here's Prime Minister Modi. And you should note this is AI. It's actually Modi's speech, but I want you to be able to understand it in English. So here's the AI translation when he talks about J.D. Vance calling him and him not returning a phone call of J.D. Vance. Play this clip.
During that particular time, there was a significant development. On the night of the 9th, specifically the evening of the 9th day of the month, the Vice President of America, a prominent figure in the United States government, was present. He had tried to contact me. He had been persistently trying to reach me for a full hour, but unfortunately, I was deeply engrossed in a very important meeting with my entire army, so I simply couldn't take his call at that moment. Later on, I promptly called him back. I said, you called 3 or 4 times. What's the matter? What is truly happening? So the Vice President of America, a very important and high-ranking official, personally told me over the phone that Pakistan was imminently about to launch a major, significant, and potentially devastating attack. That is precisely what he conveyed to me. My immediate response was, those individuals who genuinely do not understand the gravity of the situation simply will not understand no matter how much explanation is provided. My definitive answer was, if the nation of Pakistan has such aggressive and hostile intentions, it will undoubtedly cost them very, very dearly. That's precisely what I explicitly told the esteemed Vice President of the United States of America. If Pakistan were to launch an attack, we would respond with an even more substantial and overwhelming attack. That was indeed my direct and unequivocal answer. And furthermore, I had one more crucial sentence to convey. I explicitly stated we will answer bullets with shells. This significant event transpired on the night of the 9th, and by the culmination of that very night, extending into the early hours of the morning of the 10th, we had achieved a comprehensive and overwhelming devastation of Pakistan's formidable military strength, effectively neutralizing a substantial portion of their armed forces and their capacity to wage war. And that was indeed our immediate response. That was truly our unwavering spirit.
Now, here's what Donald Trump said recently about what he believed the Japan deal was. Here, play this clip.
Well, it depends. What Japan did is they brought down their tariffs. They gave us $550 billion because they didn't want to pay 20. They were 28%. And they gave us $550 billion up front. 100%, 500. We get 90, they get 10. 90%, they get 10. And there's no payment. It's not a loan or anything. It's a signing bonus, I call it. But they gave us $550 billion and took down the tariffs a little bit. And then they agreed to open their economy to everybody. This was not easy.
Now, Japan has absolutely denied that that's what the deal is. As I noted at the outset, Japan says, nope, the deal isn't. We have, one, there's nothing binding, number one. Number two, it would be discretionary loans, and we don't have to do it, and it would be high interest loans. We're not giving them 90% of the profits at all. Recently, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, was on CNBC with Carl Quintanilla, great reporter, actually, one of the few good ones left on CNBC. And Carl Quintanilla is like, so, Howard Lutnick, when do we get to see the written agreements with Japan and all of these countries? And here's what Lutnick said. Play this clip.
You mentioned you're working on the documents. When do you think the market can get its hands on written documentation on the deals with Japan, UK, Vietnam, Korea? Is that, how long ago, how far away is that?
Well, these are kind of weeks away for the Japan and Korea model, but the other models are set. I mean, you already have Vietnam has agreed to open its market. These countries have agreed to open their market. They bring down their tariffs. It's not that you're not going to find a big, long, 250-page trading agreement. It's very simple. Bring down your tariffs to zero. Open the market to American exporters so that we can finally sell our agriculture overseas, finally sell our seafood overseas, finally sell our beef overseas. I mean, our producers have Stockholm Syndrome.
So you get the pattern, right? Ghosting. America's getting ghosted. But where are they going? Well, Prime Minister Modi will be meeting with Xi Jinping in the coming days at a summit in Shanghai that's being held by China. The BRICS bloc is getting stronger. We see like Prime Minister Carney going to Scandinavian countries, in Finland, in Sweden, then going to Germany. We see Europe coalescing and forming power centers, and the United States is being left out. You know, the way Donald Trump would say, the world was laughing at us. No, they weren't. America was once the strongest, proudest, toughest country in the world. Not anymore. We're getting ghosted by India. Japan is canceling meetings on the United States. The envoy from Ukraine was ignoring phone calls because they don't want to be associated with you. How many other incidents do we think there are where leaders don't want to be in that weirdo fake gold bordello that is the Oval Office, while Donald Trump's stench is just spewing on you, and his hands are corroding and decomposing, and he's there. I mean, who wants to be next to that? Where he says the most heinous things. Who would want to be? So how many other incidents are there where people are like, I ain't showing up to that Oval Office. What are you talking about? Stinks. And I don't want to be next to that fascist. Well, anyway, let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.